So many of my runners always complain about one single thing. And you probably are wondering, what is it? What is that one single thing that a lot of runners complain about? It happens to be shin pain, especially reoccurring shin splints. So what I want to do with you guys is I want to really kind of talk about this topic a little bit, because I actually have a special gift for everyone who watches this video, anyone who's part of my running community. So definitely stay to the end of this video.
It's about getting to the root problem.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Heather here, your virtual sports chiropractor, and I created this channel to help you fix your pain naturally through simple corrective exercise and rehabilitation techniques that you can do right from the comfort of your home. Today I really want to discuss with you guys reoccurring shin splints, because I think a lot of us want to know how to resolve this problem simply, quick, and make sure we can get back to the one thing we love most, which usually happens to be running. So let's start from the beginning here. The reason why you might be having reoccurring shin splints is because the pain and the issue is actually not coming from the shin. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that it's not actually coming from the anterior tibialis muscle. Now granted, you can have an anterior shin splint and you could have a posterior shin splint, and they task two different muscle groups, but for the majority of us, we do suffer with more of the anterior shin splint, which affects the anterior tibialis muscle. So I want to focus a little bit more on that muscle particularly. So what we want to do first is really address, is the pain really coming at the shin? Now, if you are someone who this is your first time getting shin splints, do the regular protocol for the shin splint itself, which is just simply rest, ice, compress, elevate, go ahead and do some soft tissue work, stretching to the lower limb. Usually that resolves itself, especially also to getting a proper sneaker footwear for whatever activity it is you're doing. But when it starts to become reoccurring, we have to start looking a little further up the chain. And what do I mean by that? Well, we have to look at the knee, and then we have to look at the hip, and then we have to look at the pelvis and the lumbar spine. Because a lot of times a reoccurring shin splint is actually coming from an issue that we're having further up the chain, I should say. So step one will really be looking at kind of the sneaker, the footwear we're wearing, and then transitioning that over into the gait analysis, looking there to see what's going on with the actual foot itself in terms of how it's striking the ground. Then also addressing if we are an overpronator, maybe we're more of a heel striker, we have flat feet, or maybe we actually have had some previous injuries. Previous injuries can also lead to shin splints, especially like plantar fasciitis, maybe a Achilles tendonitis, and even some knee bursitis kind of issues. What I want to do for you guys is I want to give you guys just a quick kind of like set of kind of protocols that you can go through here to really eliminate your shin pain. Now, when I talk about recurring shin splints, I want you to understand something. We're going to be addressing the whole kinematic chain in order to resolve the issue successfully, and that's a big thing to do here. So this is what we're going to do. First off, if you have a foam roller and massage ball, great, get them out, dust them off. We're going to start using them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and use our massage ball. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to place the massage ball where our QL is. Now, a QL, that's the short version of the name, which is quadratus lumborum, which starts off the lumbar spine and then attaches itself to the pelvis. You have two QLs, one on the right, one on the left, and they can either be overstretched or over tight, depending on kind of how that muscle imbalance weakness might be working right now. So we are going to address it on both sides. So again, we're going to start with the massage ball in our QL, and we're going to hit 3 different spots, kind of a high, a mid, and a low. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our massage ball and we're going to place it where our iliopsoas is. Your iliopsoas and your psoas muscle are obviously your hip flexor muscles. These are the muscles that are going to go ahead and bring the knee towards the chest for that run. Now, we want to kind of start addressing these because sometimes our hip flexors are a little bit more over tight, over engaged, overutilized, instead of our quads and our glutes really working. So what we want to do is we definitely want to address these areas of our body as well. And again, we'll do this by using the massage ball. The next is we want to actually take our foam roller and utilize it where our piriformis muscle is. Now, if you're not familiar with your piriformis muscle, it is a muscle that sits in the glute area underneath the glute med and it comes off the sacrum and attaches itself to femur head. And what that muscle really does is it controls internal and external rotation of the hip. Now, again, we do want to have good mobility of the hip because, again, how our foot strikes the ground actually does affect the rotational pattern at the hip. This is why, again, if you're having recurring shin splints, we want to also address the piriformis. Now, the next thing to do is to utilize the roller, the foam roller on the TFL, the tensor fascia lata, which is a band of tissue that comes off of the pelvis and attaches to the top part of the femur, right on the outside, actually to the greater trochanter, which is a bony landmark. And then we're also going to go ahead and we're going to do our IT band, our iliotibial band, which does run from the greater trochanter all the way down to our fibular head, which is just past the knee. This is very important because a lot of times when we're running, we may be putting more stress on the outside of our leg, allowing for that patella to start to kind of get pulled to the outside. And we definitely want to start addressing the IT band here. Make sure that it's not putting any more stress or tension on the knee, because how our lower leg moves in reference to the femur, so how that tibia, which is more or less the main bone of that lower leg, how that rotates and pivots on that femur head, we want to make sure that the IT band isn't putting more strain or torsion on the knee. And again, that's going to affect the foot and ankle. From there, then we are going to go down and we're going to go ahead and use our foam roller on our shins, and then we're going to also use them on our calf, mainly our gastroc muscle. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and roll out also to the soleus and the peroneals, which are on the outside of the foot. That's just going to help you guys here as well. So again, all we've done right now is gone ahead and simply used our massage ball and our foam roller to really break down a ton of tissue in order to resolve our shin splint kind of issue. Now, the next thing that we're going to kind of take a look at doing is we're going to go ahead and do a simple task. And this one is always a little silly because when people have this issue, they can't seem to walk on their heels. They're able to walk on their toes, but they can't actually do heel walks, where you want to stand up really nice and erect. You want to be able to walk the length of the room on your heels without letting the toes kind of flop down to the ground. You want to be able to have that nice upright posture, pelvis tucked under, core nice and engaged. You want to be able to walk the length of the room at least 4 times on the heels. Then the other exercise you want to start to do as well is go ahead and do single leg balance. Now, if you haven't checked out my channel, if you haven't seen some of the other videos on here, you may have missed the video I did on Did You Know Running is a Single Leg Sport, which really starts addressing why we do single leg movement patterns more when we're prepping for these major events. So it's something I do want you guys to check out after this video. But anyway, what you want to do is start going ahead and doing single leg balance activities. First, just simply start with standing on one leg, other leg kind of knee high up at the chest. Don't hold it, don't touch it, and have that foot really kind of, feel that ankle moving around, the calf, the shin, everything engaging. And by the way, you're going to do this with no shoes on. Now, if standing on one leg on a firm surface like your floor feels really easy, then go ahead and try it on a pillow, a tog bed. I kid you not, I've had a few people try it like that. Or if you do have a Dynadisc, great, you could try it on that. And then really to advance it a little bit further would be standing on something like a Bosu, which will really provide a lot of instability. So right there, I've given you guys a lot of bullet points in which you can go ahead and resolve your shin splint really fast. And trust me, it all does really work. But here's the best thing, and this is what I promised you at the beginning of the video. I've actually created a free course on eliminating shin splints. And I did say free. And I kid you not, no gimmicks attached. It's absolutely free. If you really want to understand how to eliminate shin splints, get back to the activity that you need to be doing, whether that is running or a different type of sport where your shin splints just always aggravate you, check out my free course. I promise you it's going to give you the answer you want, which is eliminate those shin splints. All right, you guys, I'll catch you in the next video.